Lakeland PBS presents Common Ground, brought to you by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota. Production funding for Common Ground is made possible in part by First National Bank Bemidji, continuing their second century of service to the community, member FDIC. Closed captioning is made possible by the Bemidji Regional Airport, serving the region with daily flights to Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport. More information is available at bemidjiairport.org. I'm producer-director Kelsey Jacobson. Linda Paulson from Hackensack, Minnesota has been entering in the Minnesota State Fair since the very beginning and has been gluing seeds on a board for 53 years. In this episode, Linda Paulson talks to me about why crop art has been her hobby for over 53 years.
One of my entries at the fair, it's a cutout, and I like to do animals. That one I actually made a duplicate of for the family of that girl. I think this is dark all the way down here. Start gluing the seeds after the paint is dry. I've entered for 53 years now at the fair, and here's some of my seeds that I've collected. My name is Linda Paulson, and I live outside of Hackensack. I have a hobby of crop art. And crop art is anything made with seeds. The term came from the Minnesota State Fair, who named it crop art because it's made with farm crop seeds of Minnesota. That's the grasses and grains, vegetable and flower seeds. We can also use parts of those plants for our competition. We can also use parts of trees or the seeds from trees or shrubs in a couple divisions. I really enjoy it so much. It's an accomplishment after you get it done and to see what you've done with different seeds. And the State Fair started it in 1965, mainly so people in Minnesota would get to know the farm crops. And I saw it on television at that time. I lived in Wisconsin and saw this new competition at the State Fair. So I told my mother about it, Lillian Colton, and she went and viewed it and decided to do the crop art the next year, which she did. She entered, and then she persuaded me to enter. And at first I wasn't too thrilled about it. I thought, well, I don't know if I have time to glue seeds on a board. But I made a picture and I entered it and I did get a prize. And from then on, I've been really interested in it. And I've entered almost every year since. There's a couple years I wasn't able to. So I've done it a number of years. Crop art is very relaxing. When you start in, you get just involved in it so much you forget about everything else that's going on. So it's a good hobby. And I do like entering at the fair. When crop art first started, there was very few entering, and it was in a back room that you had to seek out in the horticulture building to find it. And it grew and grew where they have it right out in one of the big halls now. And that's even getting so full. There's many people coming through. Now there's lines that are waiting at the door to get in. Well, everybody's in very good spirits when you're at the State Fair. I'm Linda Paulson, and I demonstrate crop art here at the State Fair. Right now I'm working on a piece I've been working on the last couple afternoons. I use Elmer's glue, the glue all, because it dries clear. And I apply the glue into the little crevices with either a toothpick or a small paintbrush. This is just an inexpensive watercolor brush. I did enjoy when I was demonstrating, talking to the people, and people are so appreciative of the artwork, and someone being there to demonstrate, and I answer questions for them so they can start. And it's fun to see, I remember the names, I write them down and see if they enter the next year, and they have quite often, and that's really rewarding. One year we had 4 generations displaying at the fair. My mother started entering, and then she gave up entering to strictly demonstrate. And while she was demonstrating, I entered, and then my children and grandchildren had pictures there at the same time. So we had 4 generations involved in that. Well, I start out just gathering pictures and photos of ideas, and I keep a file with like animals and scenery and people, and I think over the year what I could do, and sometimes I started just because I want to use a different type of seed. Sometimes it's a subject matter that I decide to use. I collect a bunch. I have a file cabinet with wild cats or domestic cats or whatever. And then I select my picture, which I decided on this one. Then I enlarged it in black and white. After I've blown it up to the size I want, I sketch in the background to fill in my frame. Now I'm getting my tracing paper ready after I draw out my design. So I'll cut it to size, pretty close to size. And I'll secure that down. And I get a pencil and I'll start tracing. This is my hobby room. I also sew in here, and I do a little other artwork if I have time. It gets to be kind of messy with the seeds flying around after a while. It helps to trace it out. It's easier to follow the lines, of course, and to cut out the backing. And I learn the different parts of the animals or the faces, whatever I'm working on. Now that is right there, so that's darker. So this gives me a rough idea of what my subject will be, what the lines will be. And it's hard on the neck. There's other artists that enter at the fair. I heard them talk about crop art neck. That's when your neck gives out from sitting and working, looking down at your project so long. And while I'm sketching this, tracing, I think of what seeds I will be using for my picture. I wanted to do another animal one, and I like the cub along with the mother. And I've collected quite a few grasses from field crops that I have collected and haven't used. Our state fair is known for their crop art now. The manager of the state fair gave a talk I was at, and he said that when he goes to international groups of people that have put on festivals and fairs, they know Minnesota from our crop art. Now this particular one is a little more integral that I'm tracing. Sometimes I just have the basic lines. If I see something else I would like to take note of, this is my map. Being I'm in the advanced division, sometimes you sort just the colors out of certain seeds. So the next step is I will put some dark in here. Mark dark. Where the seeds might show through. And of course the eyes would be one of them. And now that I'll I'll use paint because that's a big area. I inherited some from my mother. And she and I used to go to farm crop stores that sold to farmers. So I've got some acrylic paint I use. And I'm just going to put in paint where it'll show through the most, where I want it to be more distinctive. Now you don't have to be real precise because you're going to put seeds on top of it. I've won lots of ribbons, and I've won Best of the Show 11 times. Okay, now I'm going to cut out my cardboard, and I use a utility knife, sometimes an X-Acto knife or scissors. So I just start in. I'm getting ready to put my seeds on, so I usually put down a folded piece of wax paper or newspaper, and that catches some of the seeds, and then I can fold it up and put it in the garbage or save them. And I have my palette here. So here are my seeds that I'm going to be using. This is Indian grass. This is the outside layer of salsify seed, which is a root vegetable. It's like a white carrot. Not many people know about salsify seed. And this is from corn tassel, some timothy. This is timothy also, and this is poppy seed, a dark poppy, and this is a light poppy, which I can get at my food co-op. I have rutabaga seeds, camelina seeds. That's a new seed being grown in Minnesota. This is cream of wheat. You can use 20% of your seed area of altered seed, so cream of wheat is an altered seed. So any crushed seed or seed without its shell or cut seeds are considered an altered seed. Here we have trefoil, and my high-tech toothpick I take. And I usually start up in the the left-hand corner because I'm right-handed. And with this one, I can turn it and work here this way, but I'm going to start doing it by putting in this mark. And I can either do it by putting glue on with the toothpick for the real fine areas, so I can get a really fine line here. More accurate line. And I do that a lot with the millet seeds and with the canola seed. So now I'll go back to another area and put a line of this in. The trefoil again. So this is pretty relaxing when you're working like this. Sometimes I have classical music on. Or oldies but goodies. Now, I'll let that dry, and I'll go work on another area, and I lay it in with my spoon and can push it into that area, line it up, following the lines, yeah. Yep. Now, after that dries, I'll put in the next color that I'll be using. It will set up in 20. And I usually like to leave them dry overnight before I go to putting this entire piece on my backing. There. So I have my little expensive brush. Sprinkle on, and so I'll line them up. One can go in there. I have a little bit of glue on my toothpick, And then I can go back up here while that's drying. I've got the white over here. I'll work over here where there's some whitish hair. Seems like it's really time consuming, but it's so relaxing. Now I'll capture more of these seeds here. This is the inner eye, and it's skin around the eye. So now I've got that drying, and I can go back up to something else. And let's see, there's a dark spot there I think would look good, where the hair is probably separating a little bit. That was my trefoil seed I'm going to put in there. We do have a large garden, and I still collect my apple seeds from apples when I can. Pumpkin seeds. One thing you don't find anymore is watermelon seeds. But nobody in our house or my mother's house ever threw a watermelon seeds away because we used them. I work on it maybe 15 minutes one afternoon, maybe an hour and a half some afternoons. Shake it off. I could shake it in a paper bag or a container if I wanted to save them, but I have a lot of Timothy. I have to take more breaks than I used to, and I should be setting a timer. And I do exercises for my neck and back every day, so I think that is helping. Well, I choose the seeds by color and also by texture and size. I'm particular about getting this really precise because if I entered at the fair, it would have to go in the advanced division. After you've won 4 first places in 4 years, then you have to go into the advanced. And on this side, it's a little darker too. This I'm going to use trefoil in there. See, there's some light ones in there. I'm going to just scatter more dark ones in here. Because it is a little lighter. This is the nose, where it comes down to almost the tip of the nose. Here's the tip of the nose. So I have these seeds that are lighter. Okay, I better have some extra light, so I'm going to put my lamp on here. And that gives me some good light, so I can see to work now that it's gotten darker outside. I have this line here for the teeth. I have several jars of the same kind of seeds, and some are different colors, but I have 123 different seeds. I don't use all of those. They're there if I need them. I do save some seeds from the garden. I've been collecting them ever since I started. This is a ledger card that we have to submit with our entry to the fair, and it's all of the seeds we've used on our picture. And that's so we get points on using the farm crop seeds. I choose my portraits by sometimes just liking the likeness of the person, seeing if I can capture that likeness. Of course, George Clooney captured my interest, so I did him. And then I've always wanted to do Queen Elizabeth since I watched her being coronated years ago, of course. And then after her passing, I decided I would, and I had saved pictures of her over the years, the same with Betty White. And sometimes I think I need something that would appeal to younger people as well as older people. So Lucille Ball was one that I chose because of that. I keep my artwork. Occasionally in the past I have sold one or made a duplicate of it. It hasn't been my goal to sell, it's been more to have this hobby. If anybody wanted to start doing crop art, I'd start smaller. And there is a website, cropart.com, that gives you some tips on starting. It also shows a gallery of people's work at the fair. And it also tells you where to get seeds. I'm mixing white and cerulean blue with a tad of ochre. Well, it will set up in 20 minutes, but it's better to have it dry a little longer. Start working again after this is dried a little bit. And I think I'll work on this ear. And right in here, it's a little bit, there's a little bit of white right in here. That's the problem with doing a large area, the glue will separate. This is the chest of the little cub. This will be Timothy again. More Timothy. The main body of the animals are Timothy. Well, I still have wet glue here, so I can change this a little bit. I want to have a little better marking here. So I'll put a little more glue in there. Okay. Now usually I leave this dry for about 24 hours and then glue it on to a backing. So I'll show you what it'll look like. This is the frame I was going to use. So that's it. I'm pleased with how it turned out. And now the cleanup. So I can leave seeds open until the next project. And I might have to change my arrangement, of course. Okay.
Thanks for watching Common Ground. If you have an idea for a Lakeland PBS production in north central Minnesota, email us at legacy@lptv.org or call 1-800-292-0922. To watch Lakeland PBS productions online, visit lptv.org or download the free PBS app. Production funding for Common Ground is made possible in part by First National Bank Bemidji, continuing their second century of service to the community, member FDIC. Closed captioning is made possible by the Bemidji Regional Airport, serving the region with daily flights to Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport. More information is available at bemidjiairport.org. Common Ground is brought to you by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund, with money by the vote of the people November 4th, 2008.